Saturday morning. Welcome back to the channel, and we appreciate everybody that tunes in every Saturday morning for our show, our program, and things that we like to talk about and share and all that kind of stuff. So, uh, coffee in hand. Hopefully, everybody else has their coffee. The cold chill has definitely come in, so we definitely been on the cold weather front. That doesn't heat you up and cool you down at the same time. Okay, look at that little piece of wood from a spacer from a set of grips that we had ordered. So let's go ahead and read through the comments, your comments that is, and yeah, no particular order. Again, if your comment wasn't read, sometimes it got pulled, or maybe you commented after the fact of production of the show. Even though this week we are very late to getting the show on the road here, so let's get to it. First one up, Jeffrey Richardson. Jeffrey Richardson says, "Good morning, great video, beautiful grips." And if you've missed our last show, we were talking about the Colt wood grips. That is the term that Colts are using, I believe, post World War II and into the 50s era, where they were doing that. They did it also in revolver and 1911 grips. So hopefully you did catch the video that we did kind of post a little bit of a close-up on it. If you didn't catch it, it's no longer on the channel, but we posted it up hopefully long enough for everybody to catch it and everything. So, all right. Next one up is from James. James says, "Good morning. Those back issues can hang around for a while. I have similar back issues off and on for years from my job. Ice packs, heat, and stretching have always helped me." Yes, stretching is a big one. Get yourself, I have a routine I go through every morning. It's just something you got to do as you get older to prevent, back issues and whatnot. I tell you, all through my younger days, I always, heard all the elders say, "You're going to pay for that. You quit jumping off that wall. You quit, climbing on that roof." Because that was our childhood, man. I tell you, I'd always get in trouble for climbing up on the roof of the house, jumping off. I don't know what it was about climbing on the walls and stuff, the stone walls, and jumping off into cinder pits and stuff. I'm not sure what the heck it was. Why that was such a fascinating thing. Looking back at that, why, how stupid. Because I'm sure I gave myself some damage in the back for doing all that stuff back then. All right, this one here is from Slim Fire. Good morning, Slim Fire. I'm glad you're back with us and everything. I know we had an issue. You were missing in action for a while there. I'm glad it got sorted out and you're back here and back on the channel in the Saturday mornings. All right, morning, JW. I hope you're having a nice fall weekend. For me, just having a radio talk show from you is a great giveaway, and I'm thankful for your knowledge on firearms. It's been great. It's been a great help to me. Thanks, Slim. You're very welcome, Slim. We really appreciate everybody being here and commenting. That for me, it means the world, and it is the show. You folks definitely sum up the show. A lot of times one of your comments or something you said kind of dictates what we're going to talk about, our center of focus, and obviously reading your comments and sharing and elaborating on it. Sharing products, things that we tried with one another. It's a huge one. That's what we are all about here. Joe P. Swig of coffee for Joe. Good morning, JW. I put a pair of your Colt wood grips on my Kimber Eclipse a couple years ago and love them. I'm not really a 1911 guy, but eventually will add a more original War II copy to the stable. Maybe a Springfield Armory version. When I do, those would be the grips to transfer to it. Joe, actually, I'm glad you kind of mentioned that. I actually just got my I set my eyes and my hands on a really good World War II copy that's really easy on the wallet as well. It's the one by TSOS. TSOS has one out now called the U.S. Army World War II one. That I had done a video on one that I used to have back some years back, and The only difference I see now is they're not doing that finish anymore. That spray on finish that they had that was more of a gray color. Too bad they're not doing that because that was spot on. But you can actually recreate that yourself if you wanted to. You can do the old rattle can job. The stuff you're looking for is the Rust-Oleum camouflage, the olive drap one that they make, because it's not quite puke green, but it's a greenish gray color, enough to where it will give you that definite greenish color that you're looking for, that World War II, 1911 or whatever. Real easy to strip all the parts, hang them, degrease it, and just spray it. Real light spray, mist it with it, and it'll look wonderful. You don't even need to do anything to the finish that exists. Just leave it alone. And the beauty of doing the rattle can job, you don't like it, just strip it off with some kind of paint remover stuff you can buy. Spray. I found that the spray-on stuff works out pretty good for me, and it works really well. Wear gloves because it's brutal. But anyway, speaking of that World War II copy, what I did notice on it, at least the one I saw, it was actually stamped United States property on the frame, on the edge there. So that was pretty cool. It's actually in the same spot as the other ones would be. And then next to that, it says M1911A1. The only thing I wish they would have done was do some roll marks on the slide. If they would have done some roll marks on the slide, even just putting patent dates or something, it would have been that thing would have been the primo reproduction right there. So that would be my only critique on it. But other than that, price is right, looks great. They did all the things correctly on it. They did the arch mainspring housing with the lanyard loop, the small GI sights from back then. Everything on it is spot on. The one I did see had the double diamond checker grips. I'm sure you could probably source out the Bakelite looking reproduction of the plastic brown grips. No problem on eBay or Amazon. I think even sells them. You can get them. I don't know if it might even come in the box. I've heard some people they came in the box with those. If you're kind of looking and yours are kind of a little bit too like kind of chocolate milk looking color, what you can do is, I've said it, I think we talked about it in last week's show, dye it with fabric dye. Use a little bit of the brown and throw some red in there and give it that nice correct look. And you can actually do that and correct the color on there. Just go a little at a time because you can always add, you just can't reverse. This one here is from Lead 8541. Lead says, great video, brother. See you next week. And by the way, everybody, Lead has been doing a Saturday morning knife video that he's been showcasing really cool stuff, so check that out. Again, Lead also has really some of the coolest barbecuing and pit boss videos on YouTube. All right, and this one here is from Sean. Sean says, morning, y'all. I've always thought vintage grips look better than the grips that are coming out these days. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's what I've noticed. I don't like that a lot of revolvers come with rubber grips instead of wood these days. Have a great weekend, and giveaways would be cool. The wood grips that I noticed that I wasn't too thrilled with would have been some of the Smith & Wesson wood K-frame grips. I don't know what company's getting them from. I think they're honestly from Alt Mount. I wasn't impressed. I thought they were a little kind of funky looking. I just wasn't that impressed with them. So I will say that. But you know what? You can get a lot of reproduction grips now that blow those away by far. Definitely, I would say just, there's other reproduction grips out there that are way better than what you're getting from Alt Mount, and cheaper too. All right, DB says good morning, and good morning to you. Crazy Scotsman says, morning, brother. I understand 100%. On the collector aspect, I white glove nothing and shoot everything. Oh man, I love that. That's a great we're gonna have to use that. I'm gonna borrow that from you. We're gonna shoot for using that a lot. I white glove nothing, shoot everything. I like that. All right, grips are huge, especially if you're collecting. I'm blessed to have a set of your grips, and they are killer. Mr. Holster and Jack are probably laughing at both of us. Good old Jack trying to rope us into poker. Yeah, yeah, I still haven't won back my Colt back from old Jack and from that last poker game I lost from him. I'll meet up with those two someday, and we're going to sit down and have ourselves another game. All right. And this one, last one, is from Fire. Fire says, gun business is really slow. I want to thin the collection a bit. Potential buyers not very interested. That is some truth right there. That is really true. The gun business has been slow. At least I've noticed it as well. Not a whole lot of people are interested in spending too much money-wise, like a lot of money. I did notice that. And there's just, and unfortunately, a lot of the collector stuff is not a whole lot of people are really interested in the collector stuff, not as much. And also, there is less and less collector stuff out there. I think it's not that it's disappearing. I think it's all in collections. Well, obviously, it's in collections. Collections, and nobody's willing to let them go. Unless, unfortunately, the person or individual passes away and whoever is next in line to receive them or get them, they look at them and what is this? Don't know. Let's get rid of them, sell them off to a market, and they're off they go. So, that is definitely what's happening there. So kind of going back to some of these comments here that I wanted to kind of talk about. Some of them, like, referring back to like some of the grips being a huge proponent in pricing and stuff like that. Definitely look into that. Actually, that's kind of why I brought out one of these. Plus, not only that, it's kind of one of the sexiest 44 Magnums I got. This is a 629. It is not nickel. It is just a beautiful polished stainless with these combat. This is like a Lou Horton special. These combat grips on it. I guess they have the finger grooves and they're smooth. There's no checkering or anything, but this is the original style of grips that come on these things. This is a really nice one. I got a couple a couple of these revolvers with these grips on it. These Lou Horton style grips that they did, and boy, I tell you, if you're looking at one of these, this without the grips, you can pretty much write up a pretty big loss on the gun itself. If you're trying to buy it, it's kind of a plus for you. I guess you could try to get some money off for not having these original grips. But you're going to want to source them out. They're kind of difficult to find, and when you do find them, at least it's been through my experiences, they're going to run you a couple $100, $250, $300 just for the original grips, if that matters to you or not. So it kind of matters to me. It's why I've got them. I've got another set for this that are aftermarket that I do tend to use sometimes on it, but this time I tossed back the original grips. I figured, let's put the original grips back on it and, have it. I also got another one. I think it's I don't know what the number designation is for it. I forgot. I haven't pulled it out for a while. It's like this, but it's a 44 Special. This is the Magnum, the 44 Magnum, and I know it's kind of like, why would you have the 44 Special? Because I kind of have this obsession really with these 2-inch or 3-inch big bore, end frames that Smith was putting out. Always liked Smith and Wesson. Always been a Smith guy. So they do look really nice. I tell you, just what a nice, it's a fistful of revolver there. That's for sure. Big old end frame, 6-shot. It holds 6 rounds of 44 Magnum in this one. Orange ramp sight and everything. But yeah, it's a beefy revolver, that's for sure. But these are a lot of fun to take to the range. I tell you, it gives a whole new meaning to a big bulldog of a revolver, especially a little snubby like that. I guess if you could call it a snubby with a 3-inch barrel. I do. And then keep in mind too, when they say 3 inch, they're counting the forcing cone. They're counting the forcing cone on the inside of here. So from here to the muzzle, the end, that's where they're counting it all. So actually, really sticking out of the frame, you've got about 2.5 inches of barrel. So you could, I to me, it's like a snubby. I mean, it may not be like a inch and whatever it is on some of like the Model 10s or something that I got that are the 36 or something, but this is a pretty stout package for sure in this size. Again, fistful of revolver there, pretty cool. So anyway, but yeah, I figured I'd bring that one out. That one's a really sexy beast, if you will, and it's still kicking around. So I figured, I said, this one hasn't been out in the show a whole lot. We haven't really brought this one out a great deal, so we wanted to bring that out. The other thing we want to talk about, I figured before we head out of here, and I guess everybody enjoy the rest of their weekend. I wanted to kind of do some film stuff and talk about some movies. Unfortunate news: Tony Todd passed away. Tony Todd was, if you don't know who Tony Todd is or was, Tony Todd was Candyman, most notorious for Candyman, I guess. For me, my favorite Tony Todd film has got to be the Night of the Living Dead '90s remake that was directed by Tom Savini and produced by George A. Romero. And this kind of came about because George Romero wanted to say, he said, well, I want to redo the movie with proper licensing because the original that was done by him in the '60s, black and white film, they didn't, like, I guess they didn't get the copyright on it, or they didn't they kind of goofed on that, so they lost, they didn't actually gain the money that it got because it just the things start taking off like wildfire, for a movie that was done on a shoestring budget out in the middle of a farmhouse in Pittsburgh. And so pretty decent movie that it turned out to be. So Tom Savini got together. He didn't get to do the special effects for it because he actually got drafted into Vietnam, I believe. That's why he didn't end up doing the movie. But now that he was back and in the mix, pretty heavily in the mix. By the '90s, he was already kind of done his stint. Tom Savini's really big moment was literally from Dawn of the Dead, which I believe is '78, right through the '80s. Tom Savini dominated doing movies, special effects like Dawn of the Dead, Day of the Dead, Friday the 13th, Part 1 and 4, The Burning, Maniac, Eyes of the Stranger, Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, just to name a small handful of the stuff he was doing. And you can always tell whenever he did it, just the effects were just spectacular. The effects in Dawn of the Dead are just amazing. And then, of course, and the Prowler. I mean, the Prowler is just, if you haven't seen the Prowler, that's a great one. I think the ending will shock you greatly. But yeah, the Prowler and the other one, like I said, the Maniac is another really good. Those two, and just the way the way he went about his effects were just wonderful. Very influenced by Dick Smith. Dick Smith is very, very well known for creating the bladder makeup, also doing the things like The Exorcist, the effects for the ending of Taxi Driver. Those type of movies, really, can't believe, that if you look at it. I mean, The Exorcist, thanks to Dick Smith, is still scaring people from the '70s. What a wonderful film and great effects in it. I love practical effects. Those are wonderful. But yeah, unfortunately, Tony Todd had passed away. It makes me sad when I hear about stuff like that because I'm a big horror movie buff. Really love the horror movies, really love film in general. And, I've been, that was the other thing too. Like, I've been collecting so much of like memorabilia, signatures, autograph stuff, and trying to meet a lot of these people, getting to go out to these conventions and meeting them. I was very fortunate to go out to a screening, like a premiere, like they brought back Phantasm on the big screen, and that's another just wonderful gem of a horror film. At least the first three of them. I think there's five of them. The first three are just, I mean, if they would have stopped after that, it would have been, just fine with me. The other two are just, they're good, but they're the weaker of the bunch. The first three are the absolute phenomenal ones. And I remember seeing that, renting it on VHS. That was just, a very special time for me. But I got to meet the director, Don Coscarelli, got to meet him, and he couldn't have been any cooler. I mean, totally down to earth dude. Signed my poster, everything, listened to my, just me glamoring over and just kind of like, getting, all into it and just being amazed as a fan, seeing him, the man right there. There he is. Boom. Growing up with this film, and here I am meeting the director of it. It was just like, pinch me, is this really happening? So that, stuff like that really, it means the world to me. That's it's funny, is like I'm starstruck by people that are like, they're not like super well known. They're not, they're not making the next great big Hollywood blockbuster movie. I wouldn't care. Like, what, I'd rather meet, I'd rather go and meet one of these other guys, like Don Coscarelli, Tom Savini, or, somebody like that, Robert Englund, Kane Hodder. Much rather, I'd be more starstruck to meet Kane Hodder than I would, any of these other big time Hollywood actors that everybody knows or something. Because the horror genre means so much more to me than anything. So, but yeah, and then also meeting Bruce Campbell of Evil Dead, and getting to go meet him at a book signing. Again, awesome guy, down to earth. Really was just like, he was like kind of like, hey, thank you for being here. I'm a nobody, so really cool. So awesome stuff. Anyway, we'll wrap up this show. I do appreciate everybody coming around, hanging out with us every Saturday morning. We'll try to get some more stuff to talk about. Again, your comments is extremely valuable to the show. So please comment. Everybody comment. Ask questions. Share some stuff. Again, like this time around, we took it in consideration. I saw some comments there referring to the collector's stuff. Perhaps, what the market may be doing, and then a lot of things on grips, as we talked about, the grips are a big key, a big, that's a biggie right there. So anyway, we'll take it easy, and hopefully everybody's having a good time. That's kind of funny. I thought that's a biggie, but we were, this was back in Hawaii. I had gone shooting with my Uncle Melton. And man, Uncle Milton, I miss him every day. He was a riot to be around. And we came back, and I tell you, every time for lunch, I was always like, he goes, "Where do you want to go for lunch?" And my answer, Mickey D's, Mickey D's. I was like a Mickey D's junkie. I still am, but boy. And then so we went there, and I said, "I got it. I got lunch." And he's like, "Are you sure? That's a biggie." Because he had, I don't know, he had ordered a big old meal or something like that. He used to always tell me, he goes, "This stuff's gonna kill you, man." But yeah, good times, a lot of good times, and if I can remember, I'll share the story of the time we went pig hunting, and we brought a smorgasbord of food, and we sat out there in the back of his truck on a hill for a long time. I'll share that story. You guys want to hear that one?